marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles. What a fantastic day it is to be alive, isn't it? Of course it is. You know, this week I was thinking about burning bridges and terrible people and terrible situations that we can find ourselves in. And the more I thought about it, I realised it was a really big subject. So I thought, well, I might just pull it apart and put it back together again and see what we come up with. But the most important thing is that you're here. Thank you so much, as always, for your presence. And I hope that you enjoy this burning bridges. The burning of bridges are sometimes necessary, aren't they, to do? If you're contemplating that, then there's something to be done. You must keep your eyes peeled, look out for the weak moment, and don't go back over the damn bridge. Someone has quit on you. It is time to let them go. And that can be difficult. And as Don Henley said, sometimes you get the best light from a burning bridge. Sometimes you've just got to let the bridge decay and structurally fall apart. You don't even have to strike a match, so to speak. I've had to burn a bridge or two in my life. Only regret that a few people weren't on the bridge. I'm only joking, but am I? Come on, wink. Oh, you mean it. No, Bob, it just makes for an interesting visual. You know, that childhood well, look, I'll just try and speak, and I'm just having problems, so we'll have a go. We'll do it again. It's that childhood taunt, liar, liar, your pants are on fire. No. Did you know that there is a response to it, Bob? No. And it's this: I don't care, I can buy another pair. Oh, I don't get it. Of course, the expression has been used by children down through the years to mock their peers for telling a lie. It's not always a bad thing to burn bridges. Sometimes you may have found yourself in a place that was never meant for you, or you had no business being there. There you are. This is where you get to choose. I recall being raised with that analogy, don't burn bridges, basically meaning don't completely cut a person off or leave a job on a bad note, because you never know when you'll need someone in the future. I think there's definitely a sniblet of truth to that, in as much as many situations in life do not require you to fall on your sword for your truth. With some situations, it really just isn't worth your bother, is it? I love that song, Burning Bridges too, very cool. That song by Mike Curb, Congregation, from the 1970 movie Kelly's Heroes, with Clint Eastwood, Telly Savalas, Don Rickles and Donald Sutherland. I used to sing this song at the top of my lungs. I pulled it up and sang it for old time's sake again, but I digress. Digress? No, Bob. So what does it mean to burn bridges? To destroy one's path, connections, reputation, opportunities, etc., particularly intentionally. Even if you are dismissed from a job in the worst way, take care not to burn your bridges with unseemly comments on the way out, since you never know who you will meet again down the line. The idiom was originated in the late 1800s and is derived from the concept of burning down a bridge after crossing it throughout a military operation, leaving no option but to keep marching. For those that don't know about idioms, it's an expression in which words do not have their literal meaning, just in case you wondered, like saying, I heard it through the grapevine. I don't mean I'm actually pressing my ear to an actual grapevine. Okay, idiom, lesson over. Bridges are a fascinating subject all by themselves, though, aren't they? There are 5 types of bridges, and these are girder, arch, cable, rigid-framed, and truss. Each has its unique features and uses. This is a bridge in its simplest and most common form. A log across a stream is an example of this structure. Now, when you're not burning bridges, we have heard of being instructed to build a bridge and get over it. It's chiefly colloquial, to cease worrying or complaining about something and just move on. Sometimes the bridge was burned down and you never got the memo. Ever had that experience? Where you believed that all was okay, had no reason to think otherwise, but no, the bridge is gone. They didn't even leave a paddle boat. Sometimes you just don't know why the bridge was moved, and then further to that, to an unknown locale, as in why you don't have a connection with a person anymore. There will be many moving parts to that scenario, and mostly you don't ever need to know. And in reality, many things in life you will never have an explanation, and as time goes by, you really understand that. Curiosity can get the better of us, and we just have to know. But that is where we can get singed, or worse, burnt. by a proverbial bridge. While being over-curious, we can't see the whole picture, and so rejection can be protection, although it certainly doesn't feel like it. We can call something good, and to someone else it could be bad. We just don't know any. You will have heard someone express somewhere down the line, God, so glad everything I'd planned hadn't worked out. You would have for sure yourself looked back and thought, oh, thank goodness that did not pan out. Oh, yeah, I know that one. I bet you do, Bob, because you're very popular. But because it's mentioned before, we can't often see the whole picture. Curiosity killed the cat is a proverb warning about being inquisitive about other people's affairs may get you into trouble. Curiosity killed the cat. Cats are naturally curious animals and they often pay the price for their curiosity. An example being sniffing a bee may result in it stinging them, or they may cut themselves while trying to get around a fence with exposed pieces of wire. The origin of that expression, curiosity killed the cat, comes from the English playwright Ben Jonson and his play Every Man in His Humour in 1598. Curiosity is a strength within the virtue category of wisdom, one of the 6 virtues that subcategorize the 24 strengths is wisdom. And wisdom describes strengths that help you gather and use knowledge. The other strengths in wisdom are creativity, curiosity, judgment, love of learning, and perspective. I know, you've got to ask yourself, am I the drama? What we humans can do when we don't have enough data, we can fill in those gaps with our own story, which is never what is actually going on. We are colouring it with our viewpoints and with what we would like to happen. Do you do that? Oh, I'd have to say yes, I can, but I usually know that I am assuming. So assuming anything doesn't tend to go too far. Do you say stop? I do, Bob. That saying about assuming, accepting something to be true without questioning or proof. Quote, never assume, because when you assume, you make an ass of you and me, unquote. Truth is rare, so don't assume it to be where it's not. So why do we assume so much when it's clearly not a good practice? One way our brain saves energy is by making assumptions. We draw on our past experiences to find patterns in how the world works. And when we encounter new situations, we apply these patterns or assumptions to the new environment. And this process saves us the energy of analysing each situation completely anew. So, gee, what a surprise. We are a lazy bunch. Let's just nod our heads and agree and then spread it as gossip. Sound familiar? No, it's not familiar. Should it be? Probably not, Bob. I don't get it. That's right, moving on. So I think when we are burnt out, fed up, haven't had a decent break, we can burn bridges. Maybe we have a deal going on with someone that they can no longer be your friend because they're giving their loyalty, their all to another, and you are the scapegoat. Now, a scapegoat, you may ask, is a person who is unfairly blamed for problems. I have found that you really know this has happened because no one is going to admit it. You might suspect it or happily never know for sure. I say happily because by that stage, who cares? I am so not interested in that kind of mystery. Not my people, not your people, not our circus. I do not appreciate or like folk that play with people's minds and then have the audacity to ask what's wrong when they know exactly what they are doing. Then there's the more covert types, like when you notice you're not in the loop anymore and when you're in contact, and then there's this clever play on words. There is a distinct distance developing and an avoidance. Nothing you can really put your finger on. And it may also be you don't want the contact anymore either, and it is with a tinge of sadness. That the bridge is introduced, left at the base of Piss Off Mountain, and you walk steadily in another direction. It is time sometimes to not ask why, but to just disappear. Now, if we are talking about a burnt bridge here, I may say, don't care, because clearly they don't. I think we can assume that they don't realise, but it is safe to see that their time is up, taking your time when it suits them. So in these kinds of instances, it can feel like a bridge has burnt down, a no return ticket has been issued. The point is here, and it is important, they burnt the bridge. you didn't. But these sort will say that they had no choice and it will be your fault in their mind. And be wary, be extra wary of people who constantly blame, never ever say sorry, or ever admit any fault. These sorts tend to be very critical, have never a kind word to say about anyone, and make the mistake of thinking everyone finds them really amazing. Yeah, not really. They will tell all who will listen what a terrible person you are and that you burnt the bridge with them, when in truth it was all them. They just kind of got caught out. And it may be that in years to come you can cross that bridge again, but in all likelihood you'll be far away into your life on a far nicer bridge where they make great coffee and delicious food that is presented perfectly, that you won't be ever interested in the crossing of their smelly bum bridge. Mostly, many of us have had to burn a bridge or two because we are dealing with people who we have never really got on with or felt loved by. There may well be a history of them tripping you up left, right and centre, and you've been waiting for them to love you, to grow up, to be kind, to pay back that money or whatever it is. The list will probably be a long one. So all the more important to look after your own life, maintain your bridge, so to speak. I like your stories. Oh, do you, Bob? There is, in fact, so much power in storytelling. I believe it is critical to our evolution if we are to have value in our lives. I'm so glad I commented. Yeah, thanks, Bob. From the womb to the tomb, we are constantly exposed to information, and learning starts in the final trimester of pregnancy, where through the abdominal wall we are already starting to learn. Even the sound of our mother's voice and music, for example, that she might be listening to. Anywho, it seems a bit violent, doesn't it, all this alleged bridge burning? Well, when I think on it, there are measures in life that are so scary, so opposing, that you can feel your heart beating through your face. And as you know, it would seem that it's a rite of passage, that some experiences, while they seem punishing, once they have passed, do bring with them this glorious calm. I've heard sometimes you have to burn bridges behind you so the crazies can't follow you over. I mean, if you know someone who's crazy and they've decided to be a nuisance in your life, like, say, ringing up late at night and they're really drunk and they're demanding for you to say, I don't know, sing to them, but you're dead tired and they're getting very agitated because you're still not singing to them, then they start getting threatening and acting like, a bit of a pork chop. And this has happened to me, and it was more than I could bear at the time. It was way past, I myself was way past capacity. There was a lot going on. This person knew that too. And it was just so thoughtless and disappointing. So I just sort of didn't accept the phone calls anymore. I couldn't. It was just horrible. I just don't like dealing with really drunk people anyway when I'm just about to go to sleep. I don't know about you, but I just find it all a little bit, it's not even that. It's more, yeah, that's it. So that was a bridge that I'm not sure required burning, but at least nicely placed detour sign. Sometimes timing will seem out of sync, but in truth, it is what is required. And I'm someone who doesn't wait around for too long after we are clear that boundaries are dismantled and nothing is changing or improving. And as goes the saying, timing is everything. It can be a true measure of how far you've come. Once the smoke settles, you have the luxury of time and distance to be able to look back, take a nice deep breath. It's a new day. That was then, and this is now. Whoop, whoop. Whether it's clearing the drama and feeling like you have no choices left, sometimes the burning of the bridge is not done with any malice. It is self-protection and defining how far you are prepared to go or be operating under someone else's rules. My priority was I did not want my kids to have to process stupid adult behaviour. They would find out in their own time and then make their own decisions. It is simply what must happen. Not everyone can or should have access to your life. Look at who is in your life today. Look at who was or were in your life. The ones that are no longer there. Maybe they are the ones that burnt down the bridge by their actions. You just walked away. Sometimes it will be your choice to strike that match and burn that sucker down. I don't do victim well. I'd rather burn it down and leave it at that. That sends a powerful message, and I could give a fig what is said. Who cares? Not I. As Bette Davis said, yes, Burn your bridges. Relief is a required elixir. I feel when you are being put in uncomfortable positions, bullied by a ding-dong, we are often related to these sorts, but this doesn't give them license for poor behaviour. They think they have the right, but I don't give them permission. So off with their heads. That's right. And while burning a bridge may never ever be the outcome or even the preferred choice, certainly creating distance is helpful. Always. Most importantly, you can free yourself from being subjected to what others think of you. That's a biggie. And here's a truth about big life changes. Some people won't come with you, and ultimately, that's okay. It helps to understand that we cannot know every moving part of another's lives. We hardly know that about ourselves. And sometimes the separation is about growth for all. So if another doesn't recognise that, there's actually nothing you can do about that. So stay in your lane. Atticus quoted, "Life is a tunnel, not a cave. And no matter how dark life becomes, just keep walking and one day you will find the light you left behind." As author Napoleon Hill said, "Don't wait. The time will never be just right. He who does not understand your silence will probably not understand your words." That was a quote from Albert Hubbard. I love me a good quote as it lights up my mind to broader thinking, to not be minimised by my own fears or other people's opinions or concerns. It really does keep me in my own lane. After all, our fears can be our own story. We are busy telling ourselves. So I'd much rather allow my eyes to fall on an inspiring quote or two that gets me thinking and feeling above the BS, which could be my own silly thinking. I can catch myself and say to myself, "Stop, Linda." And I do, because even if I'm right, I've got some point to burble on about a situation. It literally is hurting my brain anyway, so I just stop. I may or may not have burnt a few bridges in my time, and often I thought, if this is karma, then I'm doing a swell job. I'm pretty easy to get on with, and so when push comes to shove, and it happens too often, then you've got to, as I say, off with your head. How long do you think you've got to keep putting up with rubbish and then live a miserable life putting up with goons who couldn't give a fig about your well-being? I say burn the damn bridge, but if you can't, then distance yourself, because it will not ever get better. You are better off making the changes in your life rather than waiting at some airless public seat that have poop on them and a bus stop maybe waiting for that elusive bus or the change to happen. And I tell you what, mostly, I've got to say, just not happening, marble dwellers. But hey, if someone you're waiting on cares to grow a brain and be caring and thoughtful, all the power to you both. But it still stands. You must, regardless, create your own path, not reliant on the behaviours, the approval, the thumbs up, action go by someone else. And just because things could have been different doesn't mean they would have been better. It takes two to tango. The bill will never be passed unless both parties bury their differences and work out a compromise. It takes two in any relationship to restore trust, to keep the relationship standing, to make improvements. It takes two. Some things are better done than said, as said by Malcolm X. What does that mean? Oh, look, that's just going to take time, Bob, and I'm not sure that I have the time. But I'm your friend. Well, yes, you are, but now is not the time. Anyway, moving on. Oh, I didn't find that interesting at all. Who cares? I do, Bob. Oh. Naturally, the end of a friendship, a close association, provokes a whirlwind of emotions like confusion, anger and sadness. Before you can move on after a friendship ends, say, you need time to process the situation, like romantic breakups, friendship breakups. They can be messy. You might be wondering where everything went wrong, what you could have done to change things. Sorting out your emotions is the first step to healing. Also, remember that it's okay to grieve the loss of a friendship. While it might seem silly to mourn the loss of a friend, grieving is often an effective way to move past, maybe a difficult, breakup. Sometimes writing down your feelings is easier than saying them out loud. Oh my goodness, I'm a little bit of a write things out type of person. I just, scribble away and then, some time goes by and I reread what I've written. I thought, Probably just as well I didn't speak to the person I know. Or, I make little discoveries, or I notice a pattern that maybe I've been, avoiding or not realising that it was an important thing to look at. We humans, we're complex beings. But anyway, you can sit down in a quiet place where you won't be disturbed, write a goodbye letter, say to your friend, saying all the things maybe you didn't get to say in person, and burn it. It is surprising how cathartic this can be. Most of us actually never get the chance to express how we feel. Know that that is normal. It might be why you have found yourself at the end of a failed friendship. It happens more often than you might realise. Things end, and sometimes unexpectedly, and without reason or opportunity to talk about it. Hence why you can arrive to find a bridge gone, burnt to the ground, and you can be left feeling devastated. So I'll leave you with these thoughts to consider, especially if something like this, perhaps maybe you are handling right now. If someone can walk away from you, let them walk. You don't drown by falling in the water. You drown if you stay there, because you will get through. Look, already, all that you have passed through, and here you are. Relationships of all kinds are like glass. Sometimes it's better to leave them broken than hurt yourself trying to put them back together again. I love this. Sometimes you need to forget how you feel and remember what you deserve. I do love the looking forward part, the moving out and away from chaos, quicksand. Moving on always feels like the best decision you've ever made. We bloom again. And sometimes the hardest thing is also the right thing, all rolled up as one. If you have ever discovered that the bridge was burnt without you knowing, this is them leaving. And this tells you everything. You deserve everything good. Go get it. This is you creating your happy ever after. Go for it. I'm cheering you on. Chin up, shoulders back, Queen Asia, Queen, King. You've got this. And this is the end of another podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been absolutely spiffing having you here as always. Winnie the Pooh's quote, "You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, smarter than you think, and loved more than you'll ever know." So that's it, marble dwellers. Until I see you next time, say good day to the family for me and your pet tarantula. Okay? All right then. Bye.